Thanks a lot for the invitation, and it's wonderful to see all of you and to be here and share my thoughts with you about intuitive leadership. Yeah, I think if something has become clear in this insecure time, it's that we aren't rational creatures at all. See how we are coping with COVID, watch all the opposing opinions at the moment, all the emotions which interfere, the anger, the fear, the pain. And one thing is very clear, there is not the true we can rely on. And in this chaotic time, which infects everyone, we need to reinvent ourselves. And I'm specialized in the role of intuition in leadership and entrepreneurship. I give programs in intuitive leadership for years now, and I'm a lecturer on this topic in leadership programs at the Business University of Nijrode. And today I will share my own experience and discovery of the last years to make this topic more vivid for you. So it's a little bit more vulnerable then. But first, let's see together, what's your idea of the definition of intuition? So let's see if we can make a clear definition together. So if you have ideas, just bring it out or put it in the chat. We can see what your images or ideas are of intuition. I'd love to see them. Subconscious, doing what feels good, connecting to the wisdom of your whole being. Wonderful. Not using your brain, get your gut feeling. Inner tuition, your inner's your compass for tuition. Wonderful, Hans. Gut feeling. Wow. Inner silent voice. Can listen or ignore, yes. Michelle, right, indeed. Gut feeling. Yeah, they're wonderful. I think we get an image together now. And yeah, we can say a lot about it. It's just the insights without the logical brain we need. And for me, it's the wisdom we all have access to. It's your wisest advisor, the one who oversees the bigger picture and which makes clear that your contribution can be. So that's the perspective of the world we live in. In this time with COVID and all the other worldwide challenges we are dealing with, things are changing rapidly. And it makes us insecure. It lets us judge. It brings fear and emptiness. And you, as a decision makers, are so challenged in this time. Before COVID started, you probably had your plans fixed, your goals set. But we must do our homework all over again. And probably in normal days, you were so used of being in the lead, so used of being active all the time. But the old forms of leadership and entrepreneurship don't fit anymore. We are reinventing ourselves as a society, with our companies, and as a person, and that asks a lot of us. And these times forces us to step back, oversee the big picture, and to delay our judgments and decisions in order to create some space. But it requires a lot of courage to trust the process and to see your role in it. We can't predict anymore what will be the next step. Our schedules don't work anymore. And some of your business have probably growing sky high right now. And some of you have seen your business has just vanished. So what is our challenge as a leader in this new landscape? A landscape which we can no longer rely on, but must invent in a new way. And I would love to share thoughts with you about how can we reinvent ourselves and our companies, and what role does intuition and intuitive leadership have in this challenge? And we already defined intuition, but what is intuitive leadership? Intuitive leadership is about being aware that you are part of a bigger good. It is about learning to recognize and listen to the signals you receive about what's going on. It's listening to your inner voice, who's whispering to you, so you are able to follow your inner compass. And then you can make decisions and act from what fits with you, who you truly are, what is needed in the case and for your surroundings, And what is the best future-based decision for a bigger good, better good? And that's not that easy. So a little bit about my own experience of last year. All these years, I have loved my work with wonderful participants in my intuitive leadership programs. Every day I was grateful with my business and living my purpose, helping people discover their own wisdom, recognizing the difference between choices you unconsciously made out of self-preservation and choices you make that fit and are related to your values, what you want to contribute, what is related to your purpose, and are for the greater good. And I felt delighted when I experienced how this made leadership for my participants so much lighter, more fulfilling, and more impactful. It is a great job helping my clients discovering their natural talents and develop their intuition into their responsible jobs. And my programs were already 70% online and are mixed forms of online and live learning to help participants make a transformation in leadership. And then there was COVID. And I'm quite sure you have a clear picture yourself of the start of COVID and the influence for your work. Do you have it in mind? The first month of COVID? Well, here's my story. When COVID started, I was more creative than ever. And I was surprised about how much more was possible with distant working and getting online in processes that I already could imagine. 3 times a week, I gave extra online sessions for free to help leaders stay calm and connect with their inner wisdom as a base of being there with their surroundings. And I believe that it was the beginning of a new decade with more oneness, where we would start living with the planet instead of on the planet. But then it took a little longer. And I wasn't so sure anymore that this would become a worldwide change. And in my work, I felt I fell short all the time. I tried to deliver great service, but because of the limitation, the outcome was less impactful. The finance became less and less, and well, I felt so responsible for my clients, participants, for my family to do better. So I worked harder and harder, and it was a response of being under pressure. And I'm curious, do you realize that when you are under pressure, when there's insecurity, we want to survive, and all patterns, all survival behaviors from our childhood are activated. Do you recognize that in your own circumstances? And because of the inner work I've done for years, I was fully aware that all patterns were activated. Patterns based on beliefs I unconsciously adapted in my young childhood. This is about behavior that has been rewarded, appreciated in your youth, or was needed to keep you safe in a way. In my case, it's just an innocent imprint. My parents were always working hard, always busy to do the best for other people. So on a subtle level, I learned very young that when I behaved in that way too, I received the love and attention I needed. It led to the basic assumption, you must work hard to be meaningful. You must be there for everyone. And I knew that these assumptions were old, not true, not relevant anymore. Yet they still led my behavior in the here and now. And these assumptions were unconsciously taking part in my daily decisions. So what's your response under pressure? And when everything you can count on is different in a way, what pattern of yours were activated the last year? Please tell me. Someone can be in the chat or put yourself on mute and share it with us.
Yes, I can tell.
Yes, please.
Yes, I have several stages, because the first time I thought, okay, it will be over in the summer, and then it's back again.
Mm-hmm.
So and the second time it was then in autumn. Then I was thinking more about the further future. How will I change if everything is completely changed? And I thought maybe after Christmas we will start again, and it's okay. But at least the last 2 months, I thought even deeper how I will change my future. And if the last period wouldn't have been, I didn't have wonderful insights. So I really embrace the last periods now I went into.
So now you can embracing it more easily than a few months ago, Claudia?
The thing is, the thoughts about how important several things in my life are now more clear than before.
Mm.
The first stage, it was, okay, I changed this, and then afterwards I start again. The second, oh, I could change this and this and that. But in this third stage, I got more aware of the ascension of what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive, wonderful process. And that you recognize there were three stages in it to getting more and more into these insights. Someone else who wants to share?
Yes.
About the patterns? Yes, please, Lieselot.
It's very different from your story, Jolien. I was, in the beginning, I was sick. I was one of the pioneers of COVID. And my husband was in intensive care.
Yeah, true.
So it was a really tough period. And very surprisingly, it brought a lot to us because we had to slow down. We were although it sounds very strange, we were also accepting the situation that perhaps, you know, my husband might die, and we could talk about that. But it really helped us to appreciate life more and to cherish the time together, to appreciate being with friends, slowing down, and really, really feeling from the heart, what is it that we want to do, how we want to spend our time. So it was a blessing in disguise. And I'm still there. I'm still really feeling much better. What do I want to do? And what is it that I don't want to do anymore? So I'm much more picky in which assignments I take and which ones I let go. So yeah, that's my story.
Wow, what a wonderful story. Thank you. And how's your husband doing now?
Well, we are both, because I was also very sick, we are both suffering from long COVID. Mm-hmm. So chronic fatigue, pain, all these things, insomnia. But nevertheless, we are happy to be alive and to still have our work, and we're not complaining.
Wow, great. So it's interesting, because we were talking about patterns, and the wonderful stories you shared already were about the insights after the patterns, aren't they? So I'm also curious if you recognize what's my pattern is working harder and harder. What is yours when you are in an insecure period or under pressure? Is it working harder, or doing less, or waiting, or feeling guilt, or what is activated at that moment?
For me, at first, also it was working harder, and but at the same time, I did manage to take the time to spend more time with my kids. So it was kind of two ways. So on the one hand, I was like, okay, I'm going to work harder, and I'm going to learn a lot and soak up all of kinds of information I can soak up. And on the other hand, I was spending more time with my kids at home, baking and, you know, doing things with them.
Yes. Great.
That I recognize as well, because for us it was also, especially at the company, working a lot harder and then taking care of all the people and making sure that even from a distance they knew like what to focus on, what's really important, how they do their job. And then at the same time that also made a bit more aware, like, okay, if this is really needed to be keeping up, then it's also very important to do the things that are good for your self-care, so to say. So to relax and to exercise a bit, go outside, slow down, see some friends. That yeah, that mix really made it quite, well, quite an intense time looking back, but it's looking back in also in a positive way, like, oh, wow, we really, yeah, we also made it work and we did it, even though now we are still in it, but with kind of a different kind of an energy. The energy rush that was there then, yeah, that was also, yeah, it was also something, yeah, not nice, and especially for people who a lot like you, if you're really affected. On that sense, I must say that still so far in my inner circle, nobody was affected by the COVID, by the disease itself. So on that sense, yeah, I consider myself quite fortunate and lucky. So that's that also makes a difference.
For sure. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. It's wonderful how much is happening. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking about these patterns, it's interesting to understand sometimes what's underneath. So the stories we heard already were so wonderful about recognizing that you did something what was helpful or not helpful at all, and how to change that in a way. And in my opinion, the more you understand where patterns stand for, or where they came vivid in a way, it's the first step in consciousness to do something else. So in my case, I must work hard to be meaningful. You must be there for everyone. And these assumptions were unconsciously taking part of my daily decisions. So speaking of the decisions you make, as decision makers, how many decisions do you think you make a day? Shout it loud or put it in the chat. What do you think?
50?
50, 1,000, 200, thousands. Okay. I see your nice story, Michelle. I will read it later. Well, it's about 40,000 decisions a day. And the most are unconscious. Otherwise, we would become crazy. And in leadership, a lot of your decisions have a big influence on situations, on finance, people, right? And the interesting part is that they are, when we are unaware, basically instinctual or emotionally driven, instead of driven by clear thoughts and intuition. Why is that? Because our basic needs are part of the bigger decision. You want to be seen, you want to be loved, you are afraid to be rejected or to be stupid, to disappoint others or yourself. And all of this is part of what you decide to do. And it's not easy to oversee the consequences. It was the autumn of 2020, and I became seriously ill. No corona, by the way, but I needed an urgent that's a difficult English word, abdominal surgery. And all the old beliefs became more active than ever. I didn't worry about being ill, about narcosis or an operation. The fear that became active was because I thought I can't fall apart. I can't disappoint the people around me by not being there for them. I must be there for my company, my clients, my income, my family, my friends. They must be able to count on me. And in the hospital, I couldn't sleep because besides the pain and the discomfort, my biggest fear became truth. And of course, my rational mind told me it was not realistic, that everyone can become ill and temporarily not be able to participate in the way they're used to. But we aren't rational creatures. So before I continue my personal part of the story, let's get it in a bigger, in the consequences of this given. Let's see what are the pitfalls of this in leadership. We are not rational creatures. And most of our decisions are based on emotions, assumptions, instincts, instead of intuition. At first, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, we try to make the best decisions for our companies, for our environment, and in private situations. We try to think in a logical way. We're finding the best facts and figures that confirm to our decisions. But lots of research shows us that our brain isn't capable of making logical decisions at all. When I put you under a CT scan and ask you to choose to push the green or the red button, your body makes the decision far before you could register with your mind what it is. So at the moment you think you make a decision, your body has made it already for you. The logical explanation we make up afterwards. A second pitfall in decision making is that we think that we know what we find important, but mostly we act just the other way around. Even if we assume seeing the bigger picture and want to make decisions out of a greater value than just our own good, a lot of times your emotional response for short-term gratification is bigger and let you decide otherwise. I'm worrying a lot about the climate crisis, but if there is a wonderful opportunity to give a leadership program in Spain or whatever, and I'm already allowed to take the plane to get there, well, there's a good chance that I can find enough reasons to convince myself it's a good decision. I've adopted the importance of stimulating the local economy. But if it's cheaper or quicker to buy something from Amazon, I do. Marketing is all based on that principle. We are not rational creatures. And the third pitfall is that at the moment we think we aren't safe, our body responds instinctively. Our reptile brain, the oldest part of our brain, becomes active and responds with fighting, flying, or freezing. And these responses are based on surviving. And your mind doesn't see the difference between real danger and imagined danger. So when actions in your environment relate in a way to a memory when you felt insecure, your body will respond instinctively to it and makes the decision for you. It was November 2020, the period when I was recovering at home, surrounded with love. I could surrender to the circumstances. And my inner voice told me over and over again, just follow the path. And as soon as it was possible, I slowly walked in the forest, and I was so overwhelmed by the beauty of the nature in autumn. And I felt so connected to myself, to nature, the people around me. It was a wonderful time. But the financial impact of COVID and being out of running for a while practically hijacked me during this time too. However, there was still a roof to live under. There was still food on the table. So it was only the imagination of lack that leads to this instinctive response, a response of fear. And fear-based thoughts and actions interfere with wise decisions. Do we recognize this in a way? Do you recognize your feelings of dissatisfactions? Dissatisfaction is a sign of imagined danger that leads to fear. And our fear of lack is activated constantly at the moment. There's a lack of certainty for the future. There's lack of certainty of finance. There's a lack of certainty of health, lack of experience of freedom, feelings of lack of trust, etc. And all these real or imagined dangers ensures we are making decisions based on protecting our own safety, based on our need to survive instead of making the best decisions for a greater good. And the same impulses are all around us. So even if you are doing a lot to keep your trust and feelings of love and connections at a high level, you are dealing with an environment where emotions and fear are there all the time. So what do we need to connect with our wisdom again? What do we need to bring our organizations further? And what offers your intuition in these circumstances? And when intuition is whispering forth, a subtle physical sign, first we need to reconnect with it over again. So when I have a small feeling of dissatisfaction, and I hope you recognize that, it's just a subtle cramping in your body, stop acting. And maybe this is the advice your mother already told you when you were angry as a kid. Count to 10. It's a signal to delay responding. Let it be. because you can't act wise directly then. You need to recognize and explore this feeling, to peel it off before you're able to connect with your inner wisdom, who guides you to the next step. And that feels mostly so unnatural for us, for many of us, because we are so used of doing and responding all the time. It's so in our culture. So we are reinventing ourselves, and intuitive leadership asks us to bring vigor in a new perspective. Yes, we need to act, we need to perform, but it starts the other way around. It starts with searching and sensing inside. What is it what you have to do? What asks the situation you to be when you are in a difficult situation? What asks it you to be? And then the doing part becomes clear afterwards. So just turn it the other way around. What is your role? And what can you contribute? With a huge lack of distraction in private life, there is a great opportunity to become still more often. And a lot of people who are there are so familiar with that already. You know the importance of slowing down. Intuition is a whispering. So when your mind is talking and busy all the time, you can't hear the voice. And now in the weekends, for sure, there's plenty of time for daydreaming, meditation, writing, being in nature. It is the time to become more familiar with this voice. And in my case, I love hard working in a way. It's the same what Danielle says. It's all about the balance, because it's reinvented. But in this reinventing period, I learn more and more that it's all about getting inwards more frequently than I already did, as a condition to do the right things outside. So make decisions that fits for me, my surroundings, the company, and the greater good in the outside world. For me, it's about recognizing what's going on around me, what touches me, in discovering my own role in this playfield. It's not a role my will or ego wants to play. That's hard sometimes, but the natural role, following the natural flow. And the more I take time to get inside, the more I can rely on this process, the more easy and relaxed things become for me. And I'm curious, and quite sure it's the same for you too. And of course, it's okay that we can't find the answers for all the challenges already. I have these moments more than ever. And I know I need to wait before I make big decisions at the moment. It's wonderful what Claudia said. It took in the third phase, it was totally clear for her, oh, it's about this. And then she became much more creative. But you can force that process. And that's a challenge. And that's totally fine. Inconvenient? Yes. But please allow yourself to be in this process a little longer when it's unclear. Certainly is an illusion. And stay looking for support, for sharing with similar thinking people. You are not alone. And use your intuition to recognize these like-minded people, like we are here together. It's our chance to transcend our small lives and find out how we can grow and serve and share. And it's not about profit or charity or taking care of yourself or for other people. It's end-to-end all the time. So I think it's wonderful in this wonderful combination of people to share a bit about these things. I would love to ask first if there are questions to discuss a little bit, and then see if we can make little groups and I give you a question to make contact and connect with someone else to share. But first, are there questions or commands at the moment? Hans, please.
Yeah, in English. Thank you very much for what you say. I almost got emotional because it so much resonates with what I have experienced the last year. So one of the questions that I face, because I also try to convey that message to my audience, wherever that is, kids behind me near an airplane or somewhere on the street in Holland or on Zoom. And always the question comes up, could you, Jolien, you talk about listening to your heart, and always the heart is whispering and it's never shouting. Would you know the golden key? Because I get the question all the time, because it seems so vague. Well, how do you listen to your heart? What's this? I don't have time for this. Is there a smart golden thing to say to people that you have found out? That's it.
I have a wonderful pill here. Just swallow it. Oh, thank you for your question. No, I don't think it's just one thing. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is trust. The trust for myself, it's all the time recognizing when it's my ego, what's my will, when I want to share things, and then just let this parts doing a step behind, and be more in touch with my bigger self, and allowed myself not knowing the answers, being curious, and then see what pops up or what comes up, and just listening. And then my ego is talking to me, no, I don't want to do that. Or I say, oh, that's just nonsense. I make it up in my head, and then just relax again. Breath. The breath is very important for me to connect with my intuition. Sometimes about asking a question and then continue doing the things I'm doing, and then also trust, relay the process, that there become answers in a way, recognizing them because someone is saying something to me, or seeing something, or reading something, or just it's suddenly there in my head. And it's still because my intuition is much auditive, so mostly I hear a word or a sentence, and it's clear, very clear to my mind. So it's still difficult sometimes to understand the difference. But the intuition insights are more fluently, quicker. It's another energy than the rational insights I get. And for another one, it's more with images. You get the insight, you get even a small movie about something, or you're seeing things. And for another person, it's more the recognizing the physical impressions. When I have an insight or hear something in a conversation, I always get a shivering on my arms, and then I know, okay, now there's something important, or I feel it here on my crown. And then, okay, here's something. I must be there, listening very precisely what's happening.
Do you even get that online, Jolien, when you're talking to people online?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the same.
Thank you, Jolien.
Thank you. Other questions at the moment? Okay. And I have a question for you and Claudia. Maybe we can make breakout rooms. Claudia, do you have the button for the breakout rooms in the Zoom session?
It should. Yes, there are here.
Yes.
Create how many rooms?
I think how many people are we still now?
13 people.
Yeah, just pairs of 2 and 1 of 3.
Six rooms then? Or
yes.
2 people in a room?
Fine.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, first you make the rooms or open them, give you the question, and then you will meet someone. It's always great.
Yes, I create 6 breakout rooms. Its assignment is automatically.
Okay. Then I want to ask the question. Well, we shared a little bit, but I think it's wonderful to get deeper in that in the little groups. So what is your takeaway from the last year? and what does it bring you as a person, and how does this affect your leadership? And you don't need to be a formal leader with employees to answer that question. So what is your takeaway from the last year? What does it bring you as a person? And how does this affect your leadership? And I think it's wonderful to just take 15 or 20 minutes that you have the time to have a good conversation with somebody else about this topic. And when you're listening to someone else, be curious, ask the questions who help the other person to reflect on his own story and get more insights than you had about your own last year than before the conversation. So help each other to explore.
Chat as well, Jolien.
Sorry?
Can you put those questions in the chat as well?
Yes, of course.
I was too busy finding a pencil and now I forgot.
No, I will put this. It's no problem. Yes. So shall we make the? Can you open the room, Claudia?
Oh, we got cut off.
Too short. Yeah, we just do a check, and otherwise we go back into the room. I thought 10 minutes, and Claudia thought 5, so it was a bit shorter.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were.
Oh no, so it's okay. Just let's check. Did you finish your conversation already? Maybe there are already some takeaways we can share, and then see if the finished conversations are not finished. We can just go back into the groups. That's perfectly okay. So, who wants to? Okay, let's see that I see you all to the gallery view. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Who wants to share something, some insight?
Hans,
who wants to go back to the group after this?
Hans has to. He had a great one.
Okay, Hans.
Well, I've done what you see behind me here. I've done storytelling for kids for a long time around airplanes and almost all over the world. And I always try to put profound messages in my story. And because I have this missionary drive inside me, it's the way it is. And it never really very good landed. And until last half a year, then the world is far more open to my profound messages. It starts to land and people say, give me a little bit more. I like what you say. So in time of crisis, in time of uncertainty, I feel more, at least my message feels more more at home. And it taught me that now sometimes you have to be very and waiting for the right moment with people. So yeah, so that's in a way I feel more at home now in time of crisis than before that.
Wow, wonderful.
But Hans, I like the last part that you said even better.
Oh, I need the help.
You said that before you sort of did it my way or the highway.
Oh yeah. That's in my leadership. I was like the leader of volunteer groups, several of them, and then it was most of the time it was my way or the highway. I just pressed my point. If you don't follow me, just go bugger off. And I didn't make a lot of friends with that. And now it's I let that go more. So I feel more my intuitive part is there to speak, and that's it. I don't have to be the complete framework organizer and telling people directly what they're supposed to do. So yeah.
Great. So then the stories you're telling and the leadership, your own style of leadership is more connecting.
Yes. No, and if now I know the ancient story of from the Middle Ages, yet you always have the fool, the clown, and the king. And the king without the fool is terrible, and the fool without the king is also terrible. And if I have to choose, I choose more and more for the fool, for the clown. I tell the message. I'm not so much the king. I'm not going to tell, and I'm more challenging the king or the queen inside us and maybe let others pick up the things that I spread around. That's far more natural. I love to play the clown or the fool with the natural profundity. I always say I'm the clown with the message. Yeah.
Wonderful. How these things come more together. Thank you. Who else want to share?
Yes.
Yes, please, Lieselot.
Yes, I liked what you said, Jolien, about trusting. And that's also something I learned, to trust that things happen for a reason. And that when you, I would add also be present. So trust and be present. If you are alert and present and awake and you look around and you don't put your agenda full, then things come on your way and people come on your way. It's amazing the things that happened in the last year, and the people who crossed my road and who had something that I could offer for them, and then I was free to do it. So yeah, I think that my intuition and my intuitive leadership has been developed because, you know, change is happening all the time and the world is changing all the time and we can't control it. And so I try not to plan and to control too much, but just trust and be present. And then I'm ready for whatever is coming my way that I really like. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's really thanks to the last year, this evolution. Yeah.
Wonderful, impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you. What else? Something about your own process of something you heard from the other person.
I'll go. Because I pushed Hans, so now I have to go. I found out that I'm really a better entrepreneur than I thought I was. And I have to trust that more, because I'm always, and in a way that's the same as Hans, I'm always trying to find ways and push through and perseverance, and I found out that if I let things go a bit, then and I just say what I want to people, to myself, and to the world, it sort of comes to me naturally. And it sounds, it's sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, and I always say that I believe in it, and I do, but I should believe a little bit more, maybe. And trust myself more. I always criticize myself, and I should maybe give myself a little bit more compliments.
Wow. Wow, thank you. It's a little bit like this all the time. Yeah. The internal criticism is always a voice who can be quite active. I recognize it
really hard
right
for
now.
myself.
Yeah, I'm sure, because you're such a good entrepreneur that when you're more curious about what you can take also from other people, or what comes on your path, it will become even quicker or more easy for you. Thank you. Other stories. I had a wonderful conversation with Corinne, and we talked about the topic about the difficulty to understand your intuition when you ask what's wise at the moment, or what do I need to do, what's my next step. And I recognized a lot about what she was telling me, because I recognized when I want to listen to that voice, I'm sitting down, and then there coming things up very quickly. And then my ego really wants to think, okay, this is it. Okay, well, wonderful. Then I can do the next step. but I recognize more and more that this is just an illusion. So I need to take a longer breath, to get deep into my belly, to stay stable and to wait a little bit longer. And then there are other voices, there are other things who exist. And that's I think the thing about trusting the process. But it's also the difficulty, and that's what we discussed, is do you have an environment which is helpful in that case? Do you have enough conversations like this one? Do you have a place for yourself? Or are you so busy with your surroundings that you can't find these moments for yourself, or don't give yourself the presence to take this time? So how is that for you? Is it easy to slow down a bit and to listen to that voice, or is it just that there are always other things who seem to be more important than that? Marlies.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find the microphone. For me, I must say, I find those moments, and I am very happy to have one very good friend that I can share this on quite a deep level with, these kind of thoughts. But then I must say that I find them to be, at least for me, usually quite a process that takes quite some time. Like, it's not, oh, let's have one moment or one conversation, think it through, and then it's clear. Usually, well, to be honest, then Wendy, I also recognize a bit of what you say of the self-fulfilling prophecy and those kind of things. They ring a bell. Like, I think deep down, usually from the start, you know it. Jolien, it's also what you said, and then logic comes and thoughts come and you get a bit distracted, or you make a new story. While that's also what I shared before is with Amazon, is that right now the things that I'm coming back to are the things that already were like important to me when I was a child and growing up, and those are the things that keep coming back. But sometimes everyday life distracts or brings new things, which also nice to go with it. But then, yeah, when you have those moments to slow down and think, then usually it's kind of the same things that pop back up, but usually every time like on a deeper level or something like that. So they grow and they get richer, but yeah.
Yeah, recognize that. Thank you. Claudia.
Yes, I feel pretty good in my body and soul right now, but I a friend of mine, I haven't seen her for months because of the pandemic, and then 4 or 3 weeks ago we had a conversation via Messenger, and she said she has some trouble with her partner, you know. And then we invited her to come here at our home for having dinner, and we played Monopoly for hours and talked about the situation. And then she went home, and yes, just by having that talk all together, you know, she realized that the struggle she has with her partner is maybe not that big, you know, but because we are now in a time we do not see each other so much, maybe we do choices before we have the chance to talk it out, you know. And I learned from that yes, that's it's good, you know, that she put her thing together and she understood by just talking about her situation, you know. We didn't do anything than cooking for her and listen, and then she went and she said, oh, it's okay, you know. And I believe a lot of relationships suffer right now because of the situation, and this is a big thing. And also people who are very alone, they suffer as well.
Yes.
And we have to take care about the people around us, and yeah, catch them up, and just preparing a meal or something like that.
You sure have. Yeah, and it's wonderful what you're telling, because another thing about intuition is that, well, intuition is just energy. So we need to find the words afterwards to do something with it. And just sitting down and ask yourself a question, or have a wonderful friend like you who's cooking you a meal and is just sitting there and ask you just one question, or just say, tell me, then you can make words out of what's going on. And our unconscious mind is huge, and it works about 200,000 times faster than our conscious mind. So it's one mixed big thing with all these values, thoughts, assumptions, emotions, and somewhere inside of there is also this intuitive part. And at the moment you start talking, and if you would do it, you're writing it down, or just say it loud to yourself, or have a wonderful friend who's just listening, then you are mostly surprised about what's coming up. And then you suddenly start to recognize, oh, that was going on there, and that's my assumption, and that's my pain, but underneath there's something like this, and I still love him, or it's just the circumstances. And so speaking out loud is a wonderful way to recognize this intuitive answers. Yeah. And indeed, it's that's what we are doing when we go together to a restaurant or to a pub and just have a wine and relax and talk a bit without a very clear focus about something, and then it's happening. But you can do it yourself too. But what I like a lot about is to be aware of the people who need this more than we do, to be there for them. Yeah. Another example or question. Then I would like to put you one time more within someone else, and maybe you want to finish your story when you couldn't make it with the other person, or tell something else. And otherwise you can take the question with you, because we have our sentences, you see things, and you hear things, and you feel things, you touch and you smell, and that's the same with your intuition. There's mostly we have one channel which is more activated than another one, and the more you recognize your intuitive channel, the more easy it is to rely on, and then of course you can learn to activate the other ones as well. So maybe it's interesting to just discuss how does it work for me? So what are moments I knew something, it was yes or no, or I want this house, or I choose this job, or this is not a good person to cooperate with. And what was the moment you knew? Can you go back and see, is that something in my body? Is it just a knowing? Do I get an image, or do I hear a voice? Is it a feeling in my body? Just explore a little bit. What is it when you know? What is it when your intuition is talking to you? So let's do this for about 5 minutes. And Claudia, can you make new groups for us?
Okay, the same person together or different? Change it.
I would like to be back with Amazon, because she didn't really get to speak before. So I don't know if you can mix some people up, but if we could be back, I would like to.
Okay, then I keep the same persons together.
Fine.
Jolien, ik heb een vraag. Kan ik het nu stellen?
Ja, zeker.
Als je...
Can you try to do it in English, or shall we translate it for you?
Oh, no, sorry. With Marlies, we discussed that we feel a general feeling in the body. Mm-hmm. And my question is, can you train that feeling? If you are more and more busy with it, can you deepen it?
So can you train it, or?
Can you deepen?
Deepen it, okay. And what was the similar feeling
that well, for me, it's not an image, it's not sound, it's more a general feeling in the body. And it's very general.
Yeah. What I often do with participants is this insight to see what's the difference when you are just in your mind, very busy to find the answer, and put some situation in mind again and step into it, and step in a situation where you knew, when there was just this knowing. And there are some common things. There are things different for many people, but the common thing is that there is a feeling of easy, it's calm, it's just knowing. And Corinne and I were talking about it just too, and it's about a calmness. You don't need to convince yourself or convince other people. It's just what there is. It's open. But the tricky one is that mostly when it's something you know and it's not convenient for your mind or your ego, it's just there for a second. And the next second there is this thought in your mind who's saying, no, this is crazy, it can't be this, and then we got confused about this intuition. So it's always about getting back to this first feeling of rest and knowing, and rely on that, and remember what was the first thing. Get back to that, because the moment your brain becomes activated about it, and feels a lot of times the opposite. But that's the similar one. And then some people feel it in their arms, and or one in their legs, and it's a quiet feeling in their breast or in their belly. So that's different from person to person, but that's the common part I found out the last years. So there was someone who wants to respond or to ask. Yeah, Corinne, can you?
Yes, thank you. I think what was a beautiful insight, and also a little bit difficult one maybe, is that you said that emotion is something very different from intuition. Like you have a feeling and you think, oh, this is it. But then it's your emotion speaking and it's not your intuition speaking. So could you elaborate on that?
Yes. In the beginning, it was a lot of time for me. Then I was, I'm quite sure I must cooperate with this person, and then we will do business, and it's wonderful. And my intuition say it's a big yes. But then the movement is quick, and it can change in a while. I recognize that it was an emotional impulse instead of an intuitive impulse. So mostly we need our some time to know if, when we become calm, if this emotion is still there. And it's the same with fear-based situations. I'm very sure this is nothing for me. No, my intuition tells me this is nothing for me. And then it's just fear-based. So it's based on a longing or a fear instead of a knowing. And for me, in an emotion always comes up, and then it has a top, and then it's become less intensive. Only when we give it some food with our thoughts, we can do this over and over again. So it's a movement, and an intuition is just a being. There is no movement anymore. It is just a still awareness of a yes or a no.
The calm feeling we were talking about.
Yeah, calmness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, Wendy, Hans invited you to share something.
I think I thought I dodged a bullet there, but so I was very thankful for interrupting me. But yeah, thank you. For me, intuition kicks in when I do something physically most of the time. And with physically, I mean painting, because I love to paint, or baking, or cooking, or doing something in the garden. I'm not a meditation kind of person. It's just that then I get overflown with all kinds of creative ideas, and it really gets me on my nerves. That's the same reason why I never take a bath. Then I relax, and then I get this flood of inspiration and ideas, and I just get confused, and I'm like, oh, which one do I have to pick? So I don't do that anymore. My husband does bath. I take a shower. I'm still clean. I mean, it's not like, but yeah. So physical stuff, and I use it because you taught me how to use it. We've known each other for a long time. When I encounter people before they even open up their mouth.
So how?
Oh, I rely on the feeling I get with people. So it could be a positive feeling, could be a negative feeling, most of the times positive. And when it's a negative, I immediately confront it by asking me why, what is this based on? And I firmly believe in second chances, and I always give people a second chance. I'm really proud of that, because that's much harder than people think it is. But yeah, so
so really this first image,
so it's not emotion, it's more of like a touchy-feely thing, but not emotion.
And then just let it there, and then be open and see if it still rely or if it disappear in a way.
I try to correct myself when I have because I'm not a negative person, so I try to, if I have a negative feeling about somebody, I try to correct myself on that, and pry and ask them questions, make sure that it's not based on a feeling.
A feeling, or your own assumptions and your old cultural values and all those things.
The way people are dressed. I mean, come on, we always
there are a lot of things, right?
Somebody's wearing the wrong shoes or the wrong glasses, has the wrong, and especially now when you only have this, right?
Just the one part.
Background, on the background that you have, or the weird angle the camera is on.
It's much harder, but the interesting thing, I think you recognize it too, is the difference between all these assumptions and all these values you have yourself and all these norms, and your intuitive sensing of a person or a situation.
But I'm mean too. I mean, I do as a person that is, I've been in advertising for a long time, so I know how to influence people, especially with imagery and stuff. There's a reason why I have flowers in the background and these books in the background, as just basically pushing all your unconscious buttons.
You can. I'm just watching the time.
Do that.
Thank you for that. So I think we need to get to a closure together because of its time. Claudia.
I have one more question.
Yes.
I like that we have a women audience today, more women than men. But my question to you is, you do this workshops for years, and do you experience that women are have more interest in intuition, or do they basically work and act with intuition more than men? Is there a difference, or tell us?
It's a little bit a dangerous question. But mostly in the programs, 40 to 50% is men, so it's mostly quite equal. And the most men who attend are quite sensitive, but I think it's more a cultural difference, that we are more used to talk with each other about feelings, etc. So it's in a way it's more trained for women than for men. but there is no research that find out that we are better in this part. I think it's a different way. But especially intuitive leaders who are very connected with the bigger field and see the whole picture very soon. It's not related to gender. Thank you.
Great to hear.
Yes. Okay, then we close. We can talk about this for hours, of course, but I want to thank you very much, and you, Claudia, for the invitation, and you for being here together. Thank you, Hans. Corine was asking for some literature about it, and I was thinking about my ebook, but that's in Dutch, and I think I could. I put a lot of things in an online course about this, but see what I can offer you for free, which is a little bit new because I have some older material. So I check it out. We have the email addresses, and otherwise find me on LinkedIn and ask your questions or email me, and I would love to share what I have. So thanks a lot, and have a nice evening.
Yeah, thank
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye to all.
Everybody, thank you. Bye bye.